I was collecting Astrea snails that are used to eat algae in a reef aquarium, and I came across the one in the middle there, which was a hybrid between Astrea tectum and a different genus, Turbocastanea, a related genus, but a different genus nevertheless. So now, we've been talking about invertebrates, but what about reticulate evolution in vertebrates? Well, the old idea is that hybridization occurs when you've got one species is really rare and another one's common, and the rare one is looking for a mate. And it's true that does happen. But it's not an explanation for all types of hybrids. The fact that vertebrates hybridize is well known. And it's typical that it involves this mate selection, a rare one looking for a mate. But the idea of something accidental that I'll describe to you, as far as I know, has not been described in the literature. The aquatic environment presents the perfect opportunity for this to happen by the method that I just showed you with the horseshoe crabs. Many reef fish hybrids are known, and it's common to see cross-species pairing occur. But sometimes hybrids form where you don't see the cross-species pairs. In these cases, it appears that simultaneous spawning by different species close together, close proximity, allows for the sperm of one to fertilize the eggs of the other. And the proof occurred at a farm called Oceans, Reefs, and Aquariums in the USA. And this was the proof. This is a cross of the Procula clown and tomato clown, and I saw it at a shop, basically, at Drs. Foster and Smith. And I asked Dustin Dorton from ORA about it. You know, I said, did you have a pair? And he said, no, we didn't actually have a hybrid pair. These fish just showed up, and we're thinking that maybe they're not hybrids, that they may just be a rare example of genetic diversity. But when he said it to me, my body tingled. I knew immediately that this was like the horseshoe crabs, that what was happening was the sperm was traveling and fertilizing. So this is accidental fertilization creating a hybrid. And the way it happens is like this. You have two different tanks with two pairs spawning on the same day at the same time, and the sperm from one overflows, goes into a common sump, gets pumped back into another tank, and fertilizes the eggs of another. Sounds unlikely, but it happens. And you produce these kinds of strange things. This is Ocellaris and Clarkii cross. That's a Ocellaris and Premnus, maroon and common clownfish cross. Here's another. This one was produced earlier by Pro Aquatics. This is Ocellaris and tomato. So what are the key factors? Timing and proximity. Well, timing, clownfish spawn, all the different species spawn in the late afternoon. You know, if you have them on a normal light cycle. So the timing is pretty easy to match up. So it's something that clownfish have evolved to do, to spawn at the same time. Now, of course, they might spawn on different days, so you're going to miss on those occasions. Proximity, you have to have the sperm close enough to the eggs of the other for this to happen. So what about this? You know, we know about evolution by natural selection. How can it be by accident? How does this fit? Well, it does. Clearly, there's an evolutionary pressure for the clownfish to spawn in a synchronized way, just like there is with corals. Corals synchronized spawning creates that mass spawning event. Now, as a side note, most species concepts, species are defined by characters of which the ability to interbreed is only one character, never mind color, shape, form. The fact that they can be fertile is more rule than exception, and most people don't really realize that. I want to break the taboo with a lecture like this. You know, people think that there's something wrong about it, but it happens in the wild. This is a natural process. For example, here from the Philippines is an Ocellaris and Frenatus cross, so collected in the wild. This is Premnus and Frenatus from Indonesia. From the Philippines, Premnus and Frenatus. also from the Philippines, Premnus and Frenatus. This one I'm not sure. I think it's Palymnus and Ocellaris, and I don't know where it came from. This one apparently is Ocellaris, and I'm not sure what. It looks to me like maybe Clarkii. I found that one at rareclownfish.com on the net. This is Nigrippes from Sri Lanka, crossed with Seabay from Sri Lanka, and that's wild caught. From the Philippines, the named clownfish Teli, there's actually two crosses that produce it. That's Ocellaris and Sandorsinos, and also Ocellaris and Paraduran. And you can see the parent species in the expression of how the fish looks. So I mentioned the topic of sperm competition. This is the idea of males getting in and trying to fertilize the eggs of a female. And this is well known in birds and a number of fishes and even other vertebrates. So in clownfish and other demersal spawners, the offspring of a nest are going to, and sometimes have more than one father. And I should point out it's not just hybrids. Clownfish, because the larvae of a clutch of eggs, they settle out on sea anemones, and sea anemones are not randomly distributed. They're not very common. They occur only a certain place. That means that the clownfish larva is going to settle along with its siblings. So brothers and sisters are going to settle together, grow up together, and probably spawn together. So you have inbreeding potential. This process counters that by allowing more than one father to fertilize the eggs of any given nest. Okay, and then of course species creation. These are two hybrids. Those are the Leucocranos clown that are produced by the blue stripe and Sandorsinos cross. You can see them here with a Sandorsinos with them. But this is a pair, and this kind of pairing can help to form new species. Here's a couple of other hybrids similar to Leucocranos. This one, that's probably a Teli. Here is Barbari and Paraduran cross from Fiji. Now look at these mutts. This is a pair. That's the female and that's the male. And each one of them is a hybrid. This one isn't a full blue striped clown. This one isn't a full Sandorsinos. It has a tail bar there. So the question is, with these hybrids, these mutts, do they promote vigor in the gene pool of the two distinct species, or is their existence a dead end? Perhaps they're not fertile. Generally they are fertile, and you see these mutts laying eggs and the eggs developing. Here's another mutt from the Solomon Islands.